What's up guys, and welcome back to From the Attic. Last week, Ubisoft unveiled the future of Assassin's Creed, and it was a lot to take in. I was invited at Ubisoft Montreal and I left the event with many questions, but with a lot of excitement as well, because things are looking very promising. During the showcase, they first revealed Assassin's Creed Mirage, a return to the series roots that will be coming out sometimes next year. But that's not it. They also talked about an upcoming Netflix adaptation, some mobile games, and more importantly, they finally lifted the curtain on Project Infinity, which is some kind of hub that will serve as the single entry point for every upcoming Assassin's Creed experience. And during the event, they unveiled the first two games that will be part of Infinity. Codename Red, set in feudal Japan, and Codename Hexe, likely set in 16th century Germany during the witch trials. Really cool stuff, but recently Marc-Alexis Côté, who's the executive producer for the entire Assassin's Creed brand, gave an insane amount of new information about Infinity and the overall future of Assassin's Creed. And today I want to go over that article, see what he has to say, and share some of my thoughts. But before I jump into it, if you enjoy my content, please subscribe to the channel and drop a like on this video. I would really appreciate it. So I've loved Assassin's Creed ever since the first game, and I would say that up until the end of the Desmond saga, I was a pretty hardcore fan. But as time went on, especially when the series took a turn for the role-playing genre, I feel like the franchise kinda lost focus. And that's not to say that these last few games have been bad, because I've enjoyed all of them to some extent, but there was just a complete lack of vision, in my opinion, to the point where the AC name doesn't really mean anything anymore. But according to the executive producer, this is all about to change. There's going to be a lot of reading in today's video, but trust me, it's very, very interesting. He first talks about changing what Assassin's Creed should be and what to expect from this new era for the franchise. He says Assassin's Creed is entering its third period. Period 1 was defined by the action-adventure gameplay, which originated in Assassin's Creed and carried on through to Assassin's Creed Syndicate. Period 2 refers to the RPGs, Origins, Odyssey, and Valhalla. Moving on to Period 3, you will see more diversity in the types of gameplay we feature. We want to support our games for longer periods of time. That means that there's not going to be an RPG every year. Red may be the series' next evolution in Assassin's Creed's RPG period, but that doesn't mean that Assassin's Creed cannot be something else. We're not disclosing many details on Assassin's Creed Codename Hexe, but one of the things that I want to be clear for our fans and for the people working on it is that we are taking a different approach to innovate in terms of gameplay, so that we have different creative tracks within the franchise to keep surprising people. To me, it sounds like Ubisoft isn't afraid to take risks anymore, and despite the fact that I do prefer the action-adventure games, I'm glad to see that they're not completely leaving RPGs behind, because I do believe there is a way to make Assassin's Creed work with RPG mechanics. I mean, Origins and Odyssey did a decent job on that front, but they definitely need to get rid of the grinding, the filler content, and some of the level requirements. An assassination in Assassin's Creed should be a one-shot kill no matter your current level. But what's really exciting is the fact that they want to surprise people now and come up with unexpected ideas. We don't have a lot of information regarding Codename Hexe, but it does seem to be heading into a completely different tone that looks right up my alley. Now let's go back to the article. These creative tracks within Assassin's Creed come as the franchise is being helmed by two separate studios, Ubisoft Quebec and Ubisoft Montreal. The team behind Red, Ubisoft Quebec, will spearhead the RPG track and make sure it evolves and improves over time, while the team behind Hexe, Ubisoft Montreal, will focus on a track that feels fresh and different. This way, Assassin's Creed can focus on one type of game at a time, meaning that if Ubisoft Quebec wants to develop another Assassin's Creed RPG in the future, they will be able to implement all the lessons and feedback they've gained from Red. I think there are very valuable benefits to building games that are very different from one another in our two studios, because it helps us collaborate, as we're not both building RPGs on top of one another. So each studio has a vision for the game it wants to implement and collaborates on all the core technology that is necessary to make those two games successful. This is good. It sounds like each studio at Ubisoft will have the freedom to work on something they truly believe in. You want to make a horror, immersive sim Assassin's Creed game? Go ahead. I really like that approach. As long as they all have a very clear vision that unites all of this, it could lead to some amazing games. Côté then proceeds to talk a bit more about Assassin's Creed Red, the first part of Infinity, and why the studio waited so many years before tackling the long-awaited time period of feudal Japan. I feel we now have the expertise and the knowledge to tackle a subject that is more difficult to address. Yes, we've wanted to do Japan before, but I think the teams have reached a level of maturity in the way they research history that allows them to approach this culture that's very different from our own, in a way that will feel true to both the culture and to the way we approach settings in Assassin's Creed. We really feel that this is a setting and a culture that we need to nail. We need to have an absolutely exceptional product. Given the high expectations that people have, I feel we have the team, we have the knowledge, we have the research structure to be able to support an exceptional quality product. While Mirage is a return to the franchise's roots, Red will return to the RPG genre that has defined its second period. I don't want to spoil too much of what our creative teams are working on. However, from a technological point of view, these are games that will benefit from a tremendous increase in fidelity with all the improvements that we're working on with this new iteration of the Anvil pipeline. So you can just imagine it being a very next generation approach to RPGs, at least from a graphical fidelity point of view. But it will take all the learnings that we've had from Odyssey and Valhalla to epitomize the best of what we can do at Ubisoft in terms of RPGs. This sounds amazing to me because, in my opinion, one of the biggest issues with these latest games are really the technical aspect, and I'm very happy to see them finally embrace the next generation. Of course, it will be very hard for them to top what Sucker Punch did with Ghost of Tsushima, but if they really focus on creating the ultimate shinobi fantasy while cleverly mixing it with the lore of the Assassin's Brotherhood, we could have something really unique. Following that, the executive producer talks with a lot of transparency, which I love to see, about how Ubisoft wants to approach their relationship with their player base. He says, surprising people with new experiences might always be the goal for Assassin's Creed, but that's no reason to keep things secret anymore. The industry is changing around us. I don't think we can or should announce projects like we've done in the past on a very short cycle where we announce something and in 6 months it's on the shelves. We want to engage in a different conversation with our fans so that we can listen to their feedback earlier, take it into account, and keep improving our games and what we want to create with respect to the feedback that they're giving us. Announcing new games early is a great way to gather player feedback, but lengthening the development cycle for future Assassin's Creed games allow development teams to listen to fans, improve their tech, and release more polished games in the future. When Mirage launches next year, 3 years after Assassin's Creed Valhalla, it will have been the longest period of time between mainline Assassin's Creed games. That's an intentional decision and something players can come to expect. Assassin's Creed Mirage will be the last cross-generation game. Starting with Assassin's Creed Red, games will be built specifically for current-gen consoles. The extra time in between allows the development teams to improve their Anvil engine to deliver a more polished experience. I love reading the word polished because I do believe that recent Ubisoft games have been very lacking on a presentation standpoint, which doesn't make sense to me because I feel like Ubisoft, especially with Assassin's Creed, used to push the limits of what was possible and delivered games with exceptional worlds, impressive animation work, and cutting-edge technology. I mean, just look at Assassin's Creed Unity. The fact that this game came out in 2014 blows my mind. So to hear Marc-Alexis put such a huge emphasis on that aspect makes me very hopeful that the next Assassin's Creed games will be incredible visual showcases, and that's what they should be. Last but not least, the article reveals a lot more information about Infinity, because even though they did talk about it during the Ubisoft Forward event, it was still incredibly vague, but now I think we have a very good idea of what to expect. Buckle up, because there's a lot to talk about. Infinity is a centralized hub for Assassin's Creed games, and while the team is still investigating how it will incorporate Assassin's Creed's past, it's clear that the future will live on in this new platform. Red and Hexe will be the first mainline games incorporated into Infinity, but they won't be the only things to look forward to. And yes, as we teased, Assassin's Creed multiplayer is coming back. Codenamed Invictus, the new take on multiplayer will be incorporated as a standalone experience within Infinity. We have the chance with Infinity to make everything available for our players at the top level, a place where they can go from one experience to another to think about our games differently and give them a singular focus. Red and Hexe are single-player games. They don't have any multiplayer components. Our focus is on delivering exceptional open worlds with very captivating stories. Now, this opens up the opportunity for us to think differently about multiplayer and making it available in the hub and in potentially more ways than one. I think this is the right path forward, as fans sometimes worry that the inclusion of multiplayer in a single-player game will divert valuable time and resources. Now we can ensure that games like Red and Hexe can worry solely about building excellent single-player experiences, while the team working on Invictus can fully invest themselves into creating new multiplayer experiences. Infinity will be the home of Assassin's Creed's future, but it will be far more than just a game launcher. In the lore of Assassin's Creed, memories are experienced through a device called the Animus that allows users to explore the genetic memories of someone's DNA. And Infinity aims to bring this Animus experience to our real-world PCs and consoles. One thing that's changing in Period 3 with Infinity is that this is where our meta story, what we used to call the present day, will live for all our games. So from now on, we're gonna be better caretakers of the meta story of the franchise through Infinity, as this story will live asynchronously but concurrently with all of the games that will be on the Infinity Hub. I love the sound of this. Ever since I saw the screen in Assassin's Creed Unity, I wanted to see something similar where games are not presented as such but as genetic memories for you to explore. And as someone who loves the modern day aspect of this franchise, I'm happy to see them dedicated to creating a more coherent story. But what's particularly interesting is the fact that you, the player, will be the main character of the modern day story, and you will get every narrative beat by interacting with your own Animus. And there are so many cool things they could do with this, like you being able to find cryptic emails or surveillance footage hidden inside the Animus, or even the Assassin's Brotherhood hacking into the system to contact you. Lots of cool things they could do. And then there's the multiplayer. I mean, I'm not a huge multiplayer guy, but I freaking love the multiplayer mode in Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, so if it remotely looks like this, I think we're in for a treat. Anyway, let me know in the comments down below if you are excited about the future of Assassin's Creed. Personally, I think it all sounds very promising, and honestly, reading through this article put a big smile on my face, because for the first time in I don't know how many years, I felt like the executive producer was speaking my language and was focusing on exactly what I would focus on if I was in his position. If there's one thing I took away from this whole presentation is how it all felt very much like what Assassin's Creed should feel like, even the mobile game. So now, let's just hope they manage to deliver a product that matches their ambition.